I went to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse with my brothers, and after sitting for over 2 hours in a mixture of excitement, shock, sadness, bated breath, it all just ends. I tried to figure out what made this movie stick so fervently in my mind. Thinking, in the shower, thinking, laying awake at night, thinking, and it clicked. I can't think of a series besides Full Metal Alchemist where I loved every character a part of the project, but it goes beyond that. I think Miles Morales' Spider-Man has masterfully written relationships. Let me explain, but to do that,
let's start at the beginning one last time.
The story starts with Peter, but like... Okay, so the story starts with Miles' relationship with both his parents, and with such little time, we learn enough to love these two as well as see the dynamic between parent and son. His mom tells him to hurry up, but stops to kiss him. It's incredibly heartwarming. Side note, his mom type fine, all versions you heard, I'm a demon. His dad rushes him too, encouraging him by telling him the teachers need to see how grown he is, going as far as to offer him a ride to school. Even the argument between the two in the car was eerily similar to one between me and my own father, yet it ends in the same way, and I love you. Unfortunately, that doesn't just solve things. When Miles gets munched by that spider,
you thought I was feeling you?
He first tries to call his uncle. Only when he can't get bro on the line does he call his dad just to hang up borderline immediately. Parental relationships are complicated because one minute you don't want to talk to them, but the second the going gets tough, they're the first people you turn to. It's the same thing in reverse after Aaron passes. Miles' dad goes to him trying not to recreate the mistakes he made with his brother. And bro, look, I almost cried, okay? Like, they mirrored the first I love you, but this time Miles didn't have to say it back. The final conversation between father and son mirrors this too, but it also expands upon everything we've seen from these two. Miles says I love you, not getting the response. They learn to understand each other in a way they couldn't have if the movie never took place. Like, come on, that's so fire!
Maybe I'm not late. Maybe you guys are early.
And Miles literally walks up to his next relationship. Call it a stretch, but Gwen and Miles' first interaction mirrors him meeting Peter in the way they both just move towards each other as if they've met before. When they meet again, it's awkward, it's uncomfortable. Bro, I'm not gonna lie, I've been there, and I'd like to speak on behalf of Miles when I say we hate ourselves for this. It gets progressively worse with Miles attaching himself to Gwen, and after using his special move,
hey,
goes from risk to sexual harassment. Gwen pops up, reveals her origin, and we know she doesn't do friends because of what happened to Peter. Well, she laughed at Miles' joke, so I don't think she's got a choice anymore. Gwen's excuse for isolating herself is to limit distractions, but we all know that isn't true. She's lying to herself. She's constantly trying to make conversation with Miles when they have a second. Over the course of the movie, Gwen's character arc is to learn to open up again, and bit by bit, she does. Because of Miles, even recreating their previous encounters when they finally have to say goodbye. It all just connects, just like Miles and his father, just like Peter and Miles. It's a spider web that connects everything. Miles and Uncle Aaron have the most fun relationship off the bat to me. Both are able to just let their guards down around each other, laugh, and be real. There's too much realness going on here. It makes the events of the first movie even more heartbreaking. Miles immediately goes to his house when things with the spider clip falls through, writes him a letter, is open and honest, but once again, he didn't feel comfortable enough to do this with his parents. That's when Aaron exposes himself as a prowler. Like, what? Miles' sole confidant, his big homie, the man who taught him W-Ray is the ops? Not only is he the ops, but he was trying to give him and Peter matching tombstones. This scene breaks Miles so much that when Prowler's coming, he subconsciously turns invisible. One shot and my heart shattered into pieces. The final move Prowler makes was to hide Miles' identity, and the conversation Aaron has with him in the alley had my eyes a little sweaty. It was truly a beautiful scene, from the art, the words exchanged, the music choice, and Davis appearing on the scene to see the aftermath of it all. Outstanding performances from everyone involved.
That's all it is, Miles. A leap of faith.
This was by a slight margin the best built relationship across the two movies. 3 of the other people I talk about are related to Miles, and he only likes Gwen because he horny, so shout out to Peter. It began with blonde Peter. He meets Miles, feels his W energy, they converse, and then Peter gets body. I'm speedrunning the meetup to say this. Miles has known of Spider-Man for years, is given this massive responsibility in relation to the great power he's just received, and when it looks like he won't be able to carry out his promise to Peter, something shocking happens. Corny, yes, but Miles gets his second chance. If only it was that easy. Handsome Parker wants nothing to do with him. Blonde Peter made Miles promise, and someone who's the same in name and origin blows him off. You'd think Miles would get heated, but no, he tries to empathize with him, lost in the spectacle of it all, caught in a situation that he, in this point of the story, doesn't really understand. At first, the pair aren't too giddy about working together, but it's when Miles says this,
I can't sit there and just let Spider-Man die without doing anything about it. I'm not doing that again.
that I think Peter starts to warm up to him, and the relationship goes on an upswing from here on out. They go on a little adventure, dome shot someone with a bagel, and just be pals all around. They've got moments like Peter being visibly upset about his situation with MJ, where Miles doesn't say anything about it, just revives the Cape Spider-Man convo from earlier. While Miles is getting jumped by the spider people, only Peter tells them to cool it. Even before that, he's telling the group Miles is gonna save the multiverse. It's my feelings. Like a day later in the movie, Peter still has the utmost faith in Miles. At least that's what I thought. Peter tells Miles as the Spider Gang leaves that he'll be staying behind to deal with the Collider. After the death of his uncle, Miles is being told he's not ready, that he doesn't have what it takes, that he's letting everybody down. When Miles struggles to use just any power and you see everyone outside in anticipation, I almost broke down. I think Peter wanted to be proven wrong so badly, like you can see it in his eyes, but it just didn't work. Then he's told the inspiring line,
It's a leap of faith.
leading to the best scene in Spider-Man history. High-key, low-key, mid-key. Transitions into the second movie perfectly. Peter's arc this movie was doing exactly what he told Miles to do. Take that leap of faith.
Everyone keeps telling me how my story is supposed to go.
The movie starts off with Gwen, but she low-key a traitor in this one, but her voice actor fine, so I don't give a fuck.
Building off the first movie, yes, she made a friend in Miles, but Gwen's now got a friend who she can't contact, a strained relationship with her dad, and a band she just quit, alienating her from her world even more. Follow that up with her being introduced to the rest of the Spider-Verse because her dad's held the piece to her scalp, blaming her for the death of her world's Peter. You concoct arguably the greatest character arc in the movie. It doesn't end because she's made a new friend in the last one. Gwen's still extremely isolated, only really saying she considers Miles to be her friend. Her character arc in my mind will conclude once she's learned how to open up to people like she did at the end of the movie, then truly be at a point where she's open enough to go out with Miles, not fearing consequences that haven't or may never happen. At least that's what I gathered during the pair's talk once they reunite, but I could just be overextending the truth. Not just that, I noticed something crucial missing: pure honesty from both sides. Gwen kept the whole second act away from Miles, and he hid his feelings for her. If both had come forward with the truth, it would have changed the whole movie as we know it. Lack of honesty is definitely a reoccurring theme throughout the film. Gwen's even penalized for seeing Miles getting verbally annihilated by her idol Jessica Drew, the woman she asked to literally adopt her, as well as Spot escaping. Such negative consequences makes Gwen's removal of the truth and emotional seclusion from the whole movie make sense. She tries to shrug off Miles the next couple scenes they're together in meat riding activity, but Miles' overwhelming greatness is type irresistible, so that's quickly forgotten. After Miguel explains the canon and such to Miles, you can see how conflicted Gwen is, even saying she doesn't feel right about this but being brushed off by Jessica. Having her web line cut by Miles temporarily at least breaks the trust between the two.
What am I even doing? Because no matter what I do, someone always thinks I'm blowing it.
Yeah, Miles being Spider-Man is hindering the relationship with his parents, but you can tell the development in the first remained. Miles' parents are more willing to hear him out on the things he wants for himself. Spider-Man and Davis have a very heartfelt conversation after they combat the true hero of the story, where Davis reveals he's scared he's doing a bad job as his father. Part of that due to Miles becoming so distant all of a sudden. But after unbiased third-party Spider-Man says to let him spread his wings, he heeds this advice, even repeating it later in the film. He admits that his son's the reason he does any of this, so all the unknown superheroing is bound to hurt him, which is why it seems like Mr. and Mr. Morales are all up on Miles' pogo stick the whole movie. As parents, when your son starts acting completely out of character, how would you react? Miles, feeling unable to explain himself, just walks off. This failure to understand one another is only going to be resolved once Miles reveals his identity. That's why it hurt to see Miles look at his Spider-Man outfit after getting pure honesty from his mom. He couldn't reciprocate. communicate. Not because he didn't want to, you can tell from his body language he does, but he thinks against it. Mrs. Morale is fine at fix up on this. You still allow soon to go see Gwanda. Yo, Miles' family is trying to let him spread his wings, understand him more while holding their ground, but Miles is still lying. Towards the end of the movie, we think Miles finally tells the truth, and he does. It just falls on deaf ears. All that anxiety, all that pain, all that heartache it took for him to admit his guilt was for naught. And it wasn't even his fault. I don't know what happened in Beyond the Spider-Verse, but what I can say is this. Miles' character arc will conclude not because it's like the end of the trilogy or whatever, but because he needs to exude the lessons he's learned to reach his highest self. To be blunt, whether or not his dad bites the big one is inconsequential to that.
You're the reason I had her, okay?
An hour into the movie, the dynamic duo return. Peter's character arc has rounded out. Now he's there to tell Miles to let his dad croak, in a very ends justify the means response. Everything with these two, every glance, every exchange has been the emotional heartbeat of the last two movies.
Being Spider-Man is a sacrifice. That's the job. That's what you signed up for.
I didn't even know how to respond to that, cause I'm riding with Miles till the wheels fall off. It hurt terribly to hear Miles tell Peter not to call him kid. In a way, it tore down all they had built in the first movie. Almost cried in theaters when after Miles and Peter talk for the first time in a long time, it seems like Peter's turned on him. We as the viewer know that's not what happened, but Miles isn't being put in a position where he can be as trusting as we are. Couple that with Miguel saying him, Peter, and Gwen fine at no, I'm playing. Talked about it. Emotional damage. Miles has spent the last year missing these guys, even having his perverted drawings next to the OG big homie Uncle Aaron, and they do him like this. Your heart can't help but crumble for the guy. Peter has his family, Gwen's got the watch and has made friends with Hobie.
He's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Miles is the only one who's been truly alone all this time, and that's where we're left off. The theme of the first movie's faith in your family, faith in your friends, and most importantly, faith in yourself, taking that major leap of faith and growing from it. The theme of the second's honesty and openness, understanding how the truth will set you free. Okay, that sounds corny, but like, both antagonists in the two movies, Fisk and Miguel, are depicted as such because they don't learn these lessons. Fisk isn't willing to be honest with himself that his family isn't coming back, that he's going to have faith in tomorrow instead of looking into the past. And Miguel, based off this video link in the description, is a no good lying piece of and chooses not to have faith in Miles because he can't predict what will happen. What more irreparable damage the anomaly might cause. And Spot, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know. That's like a whole nother video. Gwen combines what she learns in the two movies, and in turn she gets everything she's ever wanted. She's got friends, she's got a true relationship with her father, she's broken the canon. Peter gets to be a Spider-Man, a Peter Parker that's finally happy. Both Peter and Gwen gain these life-changing lessons and win overall because of Miles, who they now have to rescue in the next movie. It's also perfectly interconnected. Stan Lee said anyone could be behind the mask, and he's right, because what they represent has made me fall in love with every version of the hero the Spider-Verse is carefully constructed. I'm so grateful to the Spider-Verse team for creating something so beautiful, something that created a feeling I haven't felt after watching anything in years, with some of the most realistic and genuine dialogue I've ever listened to, something that makes me want to pick up the movie again and shout my love of these films from the rooftops. All of that to say, all my friends got posters from the movie and I didn't, so if I catch the guy who didn't give me one, I'm gonna break his